So this morning, the first thing I'd like to do is I would really like to thank the Family Children's Aid Society and all the folks, Jim and Gabriella, and folks here who have made us feel incredibly welcome and opened up their space. What could be better as far as welcoming and inclusive and fun is a place where children get to play. So we get the opportunity to really kind of play today a little bit. I'm going to introduce two people that are very important and who would like to welcome you as well. The first person I'd like to introduce is Kevin Walston. Kevin is the superintendent of the Danbury Public Schools. Now, I met Kevin probably about 4 years ago when he was really beginning to do his work, and there was some family engagement work going on. But I can tell you there is a powerful, powerful team in Danbury looking at family engagement. Kevin is leading the charge, and he has very important people as far as Ann Mead, Dr. Ann Mead, and others behind him who are looking at this work in a strategic and most important way. So what we have found is that Danbury Public Schools are a partner in the work, and we are using a lot of the information that we're gathering from Danbury and partnership schools to help to inform others in Connecticut as they're working on family engagement. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Kevin Walston.
Really excited to be here with you this morning. Thank you, Betsy. My name is Kevin Walston. I'm the superintendent of schools here in Danbury. This is year 2 for me in this role. Previously, I worked as the assistant superintendent here in the district. As you had heard previously, Ann, and this work started with me coming to the district, working with Ann, working with Judy Coco, who's working with us as a consultant here in the district. And immediately, for whatever reason, Ann grabbed me and was like, it was really an opportunity for the district, quite frankly. And we didn't have someone from district office really getting out into the community and helping to elicit the feedback to help inform a direction for the school district. At the time, we were a beneficiary of a big grant with Nellie Mae. We leveraged those grant monies to get feedback from the community. Initially, the grant was about getting feedback from parents and teachers and students to address really achievement gap type issues, like what are the barriers from all of our kids doing well in Danbury Public Schools. And we got feedback from all of these different constituents in almost every corner of Danbury Public Schools, knocking on the doors of churches, parent leadership groups, schools, hosting, going into community centers, and did an amazing job. And we went out to these various groups in the community to get feedback, really to begin to address strategically some of the challenges that were serving as barriers for us, for kids to improve academically in the school district. Our next step was, hey, it's time now to, before we revisit our strategic plan as a district, that is, it might be time to revisit our vision and our mission statement. The mission statement was key, the mission statement was critical. At this point, we already had an opportunity because we had already engaged various stakeholders in this community. And we wanted to make sure those same people had voice, felt valued, they were heard. But most importantly, we wanted to make sure their feedback informed the revised mission statement. So I want to read it to you because it truly is playing a role in our work here in Danbury. And it's not recognizing my face now, so I can't see it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read it backwards. Mission, Danbury Public Schools. And so we are charged with the following statement. Provide transformational learning experiences, comma, designed to nurture thoughtful and prepared graduates. Very simple, straight to the point. But in the beginning of that sentence, are some critical words, critical friends, critical resources we need to help us realize our mission statement. And when I say thoughtful and prepared graduates, and internally the team and I, we laugh at this, and Courtney might remember we had a board member said, transformational learning experiences, what are you talking about? Like, that word sounds crazy. And we thought, like, that's the word that you guys getting hung up on? Oh, but they are transformational. And so we are in the middle of middle school redesign here in the district. We are open up an academy, the academies at Danbury High School, in which we will have wall-to-wall academies for every kid in Danbury Public Schools. And so for those of you in Waterbury, you guys have Waterbury Career Academy. All of our high schools, academies, the entire district will be academies here in Danbury. And so in that regard, we feel like we are working toward our mission statement. But we cannot do this alone. We learned some very valuable lessons during the pandemic. And yes, there's a lot of challenging ones. There are some positives during the pandemic we needed to capitalize on. Parent engagement. We had families engaged in ways we have never seen them engaged before. Mostly remotely, but our families had a view into our classrooms that they've never had before. We need to capitalize on that. Our families were connected to teachers and principals like they had never been before. We need to capitalize on that. Our families who had language barriers figured out ways, we figured out ways to communicate with them. They figured out ways to communicate with us. We need to capitalize on that. And what I'm about to share with you is not new ideas. In fact, I worked in Waterbury for 3 years, and they have family liaisons in pretty much every school when I was there. And that was important to me as a strategy, to capitalize on that momentum that we had made, to make sure we had one in every single school in this district, to create the bridge for our families to connect with teachers and be connected to the school in Danbury Public Schools. The partial mission statement that I read to you is missing some critical words. And it says, in partnership with community. In partnership with community and families. We cannot achieve our mission without those critical partnerships. And so that then inspired our work with our Family Engagement Center, Community Engagement Center. And so the transformational learning experiences I'm talking about is another arm of the district. We've hired a director of community partnerships that's literally going out there and trying to get the most out of every business partner in this school community. And so literally we have a spreadsheet. This engineering company says that they can provide professional development for our teachers to make sure that our pathway is one of the best in the state of Connecticut. This pathway is willing to sponsor professional development for our teachers, is willing to sponsor the academy in any way. We'll put their stuff up the wall. Just give us some money, I'll take it. And so we're looking to find opportunities to maximize these partnerships in every regard, whether it's resources physically, whether it's computers, whether it's professional development, whether it's donations. We will take it all. But the important thing is it comes through strategic partnerships. The other piece are community events like today and events where we can also connect with our families. And so an understanding within our strategic plan, like, well, in this mission, this is what it means for you as a parent. This is what we need from you. As a community member, this is what we need from you. As a teacher, this is what we need from you. And so this part, going back to the plan with the family engagement work, the family liaison work is having that bridge to our parents, and we have gotten that underway almost a year in now. But the other thing that was very important to us is our family engagement. I call it, because Ann has so many different classes that she offers, so I just call it Parent University. I don't know if that sits well with her, but I just keep saying it anyway. Okay, there we go. But I want to make sure I'm not downplaying the amazing work that's being done in this district. And if you have not had an opportunity to get an overview of what Dr. Ann Mead is doing in this department, what Grace Molina is doing in this department, what our family liaisons are doing in this department, you need to come visit us. Because your families are missing out on amazing opportunities. Amazing opportunities to get better connected with our schools, better connected with the work that's going on in the classrooms, so that, again, we can leverage resources at home to support kids, helping our families navigate school. Like, literally, they're putting together PowerPoints and presentations in 3 languages, by the way, to work with families just to teach them how to navigate school. Parent Square, that some districts in this, just teaching our families how to navigate Power School and Parent Square. Like, we forget, like, we have to know how to do school. And we are teaching our families, and we have them coming in by the hundreds. Not 20, not 25, I'm talking hundreds. I'm going to a meeting on Saturday, there's 200 people going. And this is not the first one, it's like the 10th one. I mean, I'm going to so many damn meetings. It's like, and people just keep coming, it's amazing. And they're not the same ones all the time. You guys know you get the same parents at every meeting. They're not the same ones. It is amazing. So I encourage you, and I'm glad that you were here today. Tell your friends, tell your folks in your respective school districts. Call Ann, not that they have time for this, but call Ann, call Grace, because they're doing some amazing work. I hope they have an opportunity this morning to speak to those things. Last but not least, I want to thank the state and the resources that have been very supportive in our work. So Betsy, I want to thank you for your leadership and your guidance and your support over this last year. And I know I push in ways that you prefer. I did not, but I'm so happy to be in your corner, supporting your work. You do an amazing job here. In some way, somehow, you have found an identical twin in Grace as an assistant, and we have a special team. And of course, this work cannot get done without having special people, but you guys know that already. I didn't have to tell you that. So with all of that said, welcome to Danbury. We are really happy to have you this morning. I'm going to go back there and finish my coffee and sit down and enjoy the rest of the presentation just like you. But welcome to Danbury and happy holidays if I do not see you soon. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Kevin. And what I wrote down in big words is, they keep coming. So we know under the right conditions, they keep coming. And guess who's ready, right? Families are ready, so they keep coming. So that's part of the charge. And guess what? So does school personnel. They keep coming. There are opportunities. Now I want to introduce someone else. So we just heard from Kevin, the superintendent, and now I would like to introduce Darren Ellison. Darren has a unique job title. And I think I want this job title at one point. So I love this idea of joy, and I am so happy to introduce you to Darren. He'll tell you about himself, I'm sure. Bring the joy on, Darren.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. On behalf of Family Children's Aid, welcome to our Project Joy Village. I had the opportunity to share a little bit about what Project Joy is and some of the work that we've done. I've been with Family and Children's Aid for about 14 years now, and I've been involved with Project Joy for about the same amount of time. It's really special being back in this room. This space that we have here, this Project Joy Village, not to mention the entire building as a whole, which we'd love to welcome you for tours afterwards. It's a really unique and special space. And it's a space that has lots of stories. And even today, here's a brand new story of different organizations and groups coming together for a really important reason. And so when I think of some of the other stories of healing and growth, working with a lot of the kids and a lot of the families, helping them overcome adversity, helping the families come together and work together and be a little bit stronger. Coming together is really what Project Joy is all about. It's an opportunity for healing. It's an opportunity for growth. A little bit of the special sauce of what Project Joy is, we divide it into a few different areas. We want to focus on the connections, helping people connect, helping families connect, helping kids connect with themselves. It's an opportunity for empowerment, helping kids feel good about themselves. The power of play, the power of connecting with one another really helps them believe in themselves and really feel good about themselves and discover their inner strengths, discover the strengths that they have and helping them bring them out. Project Joy is about being in the moment. We know that out there, life can be a little bit difficult. Kids can go through a rough time sometimes in school, in the community. We know lots of the families may have a hard time out there. Allowing kids to come into an environment and focus on growth and healing, that's a very important aspect as well. Not to mention joy. We're trying to create a joyful environment. With this space here, we're trying to create an optimal healing environment where kids can heal, families can come together. But beyond that, also, organizations, groups like yourselves, coming together and learning from one another. One of the greatest opportunities that I have is hearing the stories that each and every one of you have, learning the experiences that you have, and everyone is coming together and sharing in these experiences. Sharing their knowledge, the combined knowledge and expertise that you all have, and coming together to helping our families out, helping our kids out, and creating a stronger community. We have a lot of partnerships throughout Connecticut, and just a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to work with some of our after-school programs. For about a decade, we've been going into a lot of the extended day programs, which are IOP, intensive outpatient basis level, and we've been doing Project Joy and teaching them and helping facilitate Project Joy in some of the after-school programs. And so we've had the opportunity to work with a lot of the people doing the frontline work for over a decade now. Just the other day, I had the opportunity to ask them, what is Project Joy? What's it like for you when you're doing all the work? What do you see happens? And I had the opportunity to share. I had the opportunity to write down some of what they noticed and share with you all today what Project Joy is. Project Joy is opportunity, inspiration, and uplifting happiness. It's friendship, a place for kids to come together and work together, an opportunity for healing and hope. It's a breakthrough for kids who don't smile, don't have a moment of peace. It's moments of hope, room to grow. It's teamwork. It's fundamental for therapeutic play, a chance to feel free and express themselves, a good way for staff to get involved with kids. It's creating a loving and respectful atmosphere. It's fun. When the kids have fun, the staff have fun. It's a reminder how we give back to the kids and the kids give back to us. And it's me. It's me as I know how important play is and how important it was for me when I was growing up. And so, keeping in mind the power of connection, the power of believing in yourself and discovering your own strengths through playful activities, coming together with groups and activity and other groups and organizations just like yourselves. That's what Project Joy is. It's an opportunity to grow and heal and just coming together. So thank you very much for being here. And like we said, we'll give some opportunities for some tours around the building, and we could show you around a little bit. So thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. And we will be joining Darren for tours when we finish at 11 o'clock. And I strongly encourage you to go on a tour, because if you think this is awesome, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's some things in the basement you really need to see. So we're really pleased to be here. I'm Judy Carson, and I work at the State Department of Education. And my work is school, family, community partnerships, and very happily do lots of work with my friends at CREC and my friends Betsy Laborious. And it was together and with people in this room that we created Friday Cafe. It's my pleasure to introduce Ann Henderson, our conversation catalyst for the day. And I've known Ann since 2005. We're going way back. Yeah, and I want to tell you a couple of things, just two things about Ann Henderson. Number one, it's kind of her fault that we're here. Okay, so The field of family engagement has been largely catalyzed by the work of Ann Henderson and some of her colleagues for decades. Long time ago, when Ann was a parent herself, she had this idea that parents matter in education. She was told, no, they don't. She's like, ha, 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 I'll show you. So Ann was one of the very first to start collecting the research on family engagement, showing that it makes a difference. And then she knew people were doing good work. She went around and collected practices and said, yes, you can do it. It can be done. The evidence series captured the research, and a little book called Beyond the Bake Sale started capturing those examples. And some of us have those on our shelf. And Anne's produced a small library by herself and with her colleagues. The other thing I want to tell you about Ann Henderson is she picks up the phone. So maybe like some of you, I had her books, and I was like, oh, I'm meeting Ann Henderson. I was struggling with something. I was struggling with good examples of Title I school parent compacts. And I saw something in Beyond the Bake Sale, and I was like, there must be good examples somewhere. Let's find good examples. And I couldn't find any. I said, oh, okay, I'm going to contact this woman, Ann Henderson. Maybe she'll write back. Maybe her assistant will write back. She not only wrote back, she said, great idea, let's meet. Let's talk about it. And then she said her famous words, why not? Let's do it. If it's not out there, we can create it. And she has become a friend of Connecticut's, and Betsy and I and our team have been very blessed to work with Ann, and I like to take credit for all of my great ideas, but I really can't, because most of them came from conversations with Ann Henderson. So if you have her book and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly talk to her, just remember, she picks up the phone and she always says yes. So it's my pleasure to introduce our very generous friend and colleague, Ann Henderson.
Wow, what a fabulous space this is, huh? And Judy is an idea creator. Don't let her give you the idea they all come from me. We were walking in here and she said, this place shows that a place can create relationships. And it's true. Look at this. You just want to poke in and out of everything, and I want to go lie down in the popcorn. Did you notice that? Anyway, it is such a pleasure to be here. It's at times like this that I think I must be one of the luckiest people in the world to get to work with people like you here in Connecticut. A little closer? Okay. Is that better? I do not have one of those loud teacher voices. I thought my life would be different if I did, but I don't. I need amplification. So it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I'm very excited about our new book because it's full of ideas from the research about what we need to be doing to use that word that Kevin used this morning, transformational. That's what we need to be thinking about when we work with our families. And I'm going to walk you through the research, and we're going to have some conversations together. And the key questions we're going to be looking at is, okay, what is it? And why is it important? And what does it look like when it's done well? And who benefits? So I'm going to be giving you sort of big stories from the research. And when you get your own copy of the book, which you might win in a raffle today, but if you don't, there's a flyer with a QR code, and you can order from there. I think that they just about sold out of their first printing, and that's why, as Judy was saying, they were just able to get small shipments, but you'll be able to get a copy. So what is it? Well, I had a wonderful experience here in Connecticut because my colleagues here that I work with said, we need a definition of what family engagement is. There are hundreds of them, and they're different, and there's no agreed upon definition. And we went out and talked to parents and educators all over Connecticut. We did it via Zoom, we did it via social media, and we did it in person. And this is what they told us it meant to them. Because after all, if it's parents that know what it feels like when it's really happening, So we wanted them to give us the definition. And they gave us 3 big concepts here. It's full, it's equal, and it's equitable. And it's a partnership among families, educators, community partners, to promote children's learning and development all the way through birth and college and career. Wow, you said it. And when I say that, I mean you. You said it. It was people just like you, and probably some of them are even you, like Grace and Anne. And so we use this definition now in our book. Dr. Karen Mapp from Harvard and I, our wonderful colleagues on Beyond the Bake Sale and several of these evidence reviews. And this is the 5th one. Everyone wins. So what's equitable? That's not a word people necessarily know exactly what it means. Fair, maybe it means everybody getting something. Well, you parents in Connecticut really laid it out for us. First of all, equitable means you've got to get rid of the barriers that are getting in the way so that we don't have the inequities that we see all the time and the injustice. Let's talk about justice here. There have to be access to opportunities to develop knowledge and skills so that they can become the full and equal partners at the table and be collaborators in this very deliberate, intentional work to make sure that every kid, every single kid, gets what he or she or they need to succeed. Not the same thing, but what they need. It's a pretty simple concept, but this is what it takes to make it happen. And again, you said it. So when they describe what it looks like when it's really happening, I think the thing we heard more often from students and parents was that it's when a school feels like a family. It's when we're welcome, when our voices are valued, when we're active participants, when the communication is flowing back and forth, not just one way, and people are really listening to each other. And when that happens, it creates mutual respect and honesty and that big, all-important word that starts with a T, trust. So why is this important? I've been tracking the research now for 40 years. My daughter was 5 years old when I started doing this, and she is now 45 and has 2 children and a husband, and we all live together in one house. And it shows that students, families, teachers, everyone benefits. And that the new research is really showing us what the implications are for practice. And family engagement lays the foundation for everything else to work well, for children to do well, not just in school, but through life, but for schools to become better, and teachers to like their jobs more and be more effective because they know their students better, and for communities to become healthier places because our schools are functioning as they should, as little laboratories of democracy. And that creates a healthier civic culture where people don't feel left out and don't get angry and alienated. So the overall big story is, now why is this jumping? When families are able to be engaged in the ways that we've just been talking about, kids do better in school. Teachers are more effective. Families get stronger. It strengthens families when we welcome them and encourage them and build their capacity to support their children's learning. And schools get better. So as we were describing this to our editors at Scholastic, very excited having just reviewed all the research, and we said, you know, everyone wins. They said, that's your title. And that is our title. So big story number one is start early. Start in, prenatal care, and then visiting families when their children are very young, and then having strong family engagement in those early childhood programs. And the best programs are aimed at not only increasing children's kindergarten readiness, because we know how important that is for future success. Kids who are ready for kindergarten have the vocabulary they need to communicate with other people and the kids and the teachers and to understand what's being said and taught. It's also working with the family and the child through the end of third grade to make sure they're proficient in reading at the end of third grade. Remember that saying? Up to third grade, you're learning to read. After third grade, you are reading to learn. So if you don't know how to read well at the end of third grade, your chances of succeeding in the rest of your schooling go way down. And finally, of course, this improves children's long-term outcomes because by third grade, families have become very skilled at supporting their children, understanding how the system works, and working with the system to support their children. So starting early in a child's life, but also early in the school year, getting off to a good start. Well begun is half done. So let me give you an example. This is a wonderful series of studies done in Chicago on their child parent centers, which is a wonderful thing they do with their Title I money. So it's for low-income kids, and as I said, ages 3 through 8, so through third grade, with the goals of kindergarten readiness, as we've been describing. And they have a parent resource room. They look something like this. I don't think they're quite as beautiful as this, but they're very welcoming places that the parents come to with their kids. And parents are learning along with their kids. And then there are also adult resources there. So parents can start to take GED classes if they didn't graduate from high school yet. They do classroom visits, field trips, all kinds of activities, and really learn how it is that children are learning in our schools in this country, because so many of our families are new to the country or maybe didn't have much of a chance to go to school themselves, even if they did live in our country. And there's a school community rep that links up community resources and does outreach and home visits to families. So when you have a program like this, then what happens for kids? The benefits for kids, they're more motivated, they're more secure, they're more confident, their cognitive ability improves because they're getting all these enriched learning experiences from adults who love and care about them. So they adjust better socially, get along with each other better, and they have more support at home and at school. And then the long-term benefits: competence, persistence, self-regulation, all of those things that we measure using those sociological and psychological terms. But basically it boils down to higher achievement when they're in school and higher high school graduation rates. And then less of the things we don't want, like not passing a grade, or needing special education, or getting into trouble, or needing extra special social services. So the bottom line is that the longer parents took part in this program, the more that children benefited. So every 1 year increase in parent participation in this program led to a 16% greater chance of high school graduation. And 4 years of involvement increased the odds of high school graduation by almost 50%. Now in Chicago, the high school dropout rate is almost 50%. So think about that. Think about how many kids just don't make it all the way through, and how much better a chance at success in life they would have if they could just get that high school diploma on time, having mastered the skills they needed to do that, and being ready to go out into the world. This kind of investment is what makes the difference. But you can see it's not just an early childhood program. It's very carefully designed, and families are an enormous part of why it's so successful. If we don't do that, our programs aren't as effective. It's not optional. So big story number 2 is developing trust. Trust is key. It's the soil in which everything else takes root and flourishes. And the traditional practices that we use, the back-to-school nights, the parent-teacher conferences, the big, sort of events that we have at school, do not develop the kind of close relationships that create trust. So how do we create trust? We talk to each other and we listen. So how do we create opportunities for that in our schools, in our after-school programs, in our early childhood programs, and any other setting where families and children and other adults are coming together? So it's having these deep conversations where you get to know one another. Remember, families are experts. They're experts on their kids, their families, their culture, their communities, their neighborhoods. And they have valuable knowledge that educators can use to reach and motivate their children. So coming together to share knowledge about the child, what they're good at, what they're struggling with, what turns them on, what they love to do, what they're scared of, all of those things. And more about the family's background and the teachers sharing their background as well. And then committing to the child's success and figuring out how they're going to work together to support the child's learning. And when we do that, that means changing the typical 15-minute parent-teacher conference that's focused on behavior. Your daughter's such a joy to have in the class. She's so well behaved. And really getting down to the nitty-gritty about how the kid is doing and what would help make them do even better. So developing trust. So let's talk about trust. Let's take a minute here and just talk about trust. I want you to talk to your shoulder partners. So clump up in little groups here. What does trust mean to you? What's the first thing that comes into your mind when you hear that word? And what do you need to know about somebody before you can trust them? Before, say, you'd pony up 10 grand to go into business with them. What would you need to know about that person? So let's just talk about that in your groups. I love all these excited and eager, interesting conversations. Let's have a little share out here. What did you talk about? What were some of the words that you used? Just dependable. Dependable. Yes, that word, I heard that word more than once. What else?
Mutual regard.
Mutual regard. Relationships. Faith. Faith, having faith in each other. What else? So what would you need to know about somebody before you'd pony up that 10 grand? Track record. So that means to know their track record, there has to be communication and transparency, right? What else?
Safety.
Safety. Is my money safe with you? It's not going to be in Bitcoin, right? What else? Yes.
Loyalty
Loyalty. Oh, that's a really good word. Well, does some person keep their word? Right. Partnership. So partnership means both sides are equal, right? You might not do exactly the same thing in your business, but what you do is equivalent. You're not just, that person isn't just making 3 phone calls a day and you're doing all the rest of the work, right? Okay. Now here's a sort of next question. How do you let someone you want to get to know better know that they can trust you? What are the things you do to signal to another person that you're trustworthy?
Follow through the actions.
It's really your actions, isn't it? It's how you behave. So that goes down to like body language. So if you're kind of like this, eyeing them up and down, they're going to think that you don't trust them. What else?
You know what you say is how you say it.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yes. So, you would speak to somebody in a, friendly tone of voice. What would you do with your facial muscles? You'd smile, right? What else?
I think be open and willing to share.
Be open, willing to share. We had a home visit at our house for my granddaughter Alita, who just turned 10. And the teacher came with another teacher. And I've never seen Alita look so happy and thrilled and animated. And she sat on the sofa in between the 2 teachers, and she just snuggled up to them. And she just basked in the attention and the love that they showed for her. And Alita has a learning disability, and so my daughter was talking with the teacher about that, and the teacher shared she has a son who also has a learning disability. So she, told us something about herself. It wasn't just her learning everything about us, it was also us learning about her. And boy, the conversation really got deeper after that. And now my daughter's a school social worker, so then they started talking about what it was like to work for DCPS, and they started sharing some of the hot gossip about the new teacher contract. And it was a beautiful hour, it really was. And I think we all left feeling that this is a group of people who could really work together and trust each other and just make sure that Alita, my little granddaughter, was getting everything she needed to succeed. So thank you for this. I loved it the way the room just burst into conversation, and I had a lot of fun eavesdropping. So let's just talk a little bit more about this trust thing. This is a study done on a program in the United Kingdom or England or Great Britain. They have several names across the pond. And it's similar to programs we have here. The goal was to raise achievement for all students with special needs. Now, in the UK, special needs is not just disabilities, it's also children from low-income families, children who've been in foster care, of course, kids who have disabilities, but and whose first language isn't English. So they have a very broad definition of special needs. And the linchpin of the program was structured conversations between teachers and parents. So not 10-minute parent-teacher conferences that are sort of highly ritualized, but an hour-long conversation about how the child is doing, what the situation is at home, what the teacher thinks at school, so that they end up with a plan. You see those bubbles at the bottom, are the protocol, a sort of a welcoming, getting to know each other, sharing information about each other, and then focusing in on the child's skills, how they're doing, sharing strategies that work. So here's where parents can say, my kid needs to know, you need to talk to my child very directly, or he loses attention, or whatever it is that the parent can pass on about the child. And then the teacher talks about strategies that they're using to reach the child that parents can use at home. And then they come together and develop a plan, and then this results in new learning behaviors. And so this program also has, other components that have to do with, more after-school learning and higher standards and, better communications and instructional strategies. But the researchers found that the linchpin of the program was these structured conversations. And what happened was that the children in this program, who were all kids with special needs, made 25% greater gains than all students in the UK, looking at their test scores, and 50% better than other special needs students who were not in the program. So this is not just this is transformational, because it changed the way the school related to families and the ways that families connected to school, so that they became partners who trusted each other. And then the third story, big story, is we've got ripple effects here. It's not just kids who benefit. And the wins for educators are really profound. Now, I'll tell you a little secret. My organization, the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement, worked with Frameworks Institute to do some social marketing research on how the public thinks about family engagement. First of all, they have no idea what it is. Second of all, they don't understand that there's any role for the community in this. They just tend to see it as like the parent-teacher conference. And one of the things we learned was that not just the public, but just about everybody in education responds most positively and enthusiastically to messages that say teachers benefit, more than that children benefit, more than that families benefit, because I think everybody respects and is worried about our teachers. And it's teachers really do gain. Half of all new teachers leave in 5 years. We don't have a teacher shortage problem, we have a teacher retention problem. And what happens in schools where teachers stay is that they work well with families, because teachers feel they have more support. They don't feel that, they have to blame somebody else other than them because everybody's all upset about how poorly kids are doing. But and it changes the way they think about families. So instead of thinking, we're a perfectly good school, the problem is the kids who go here. I've heard that. The problem is that people don't know and understand and trust each other. That's the problem. And so when you change that, you start to think it just changes the way you see everything. And it increases their multicultural awareness. They say doing home visits, for example, is the most excellent professional development they've ever received, because it's taking them out of their area of familiarity and power and control, the school, and putting them in a place where they haven't been before, and they're learning enormously from it. And they find that they really love doing that. So they have more success motivating and engaging their kids, because they understand that this little girl is absolutely bonkers about unicorns. And so if they can, reach them through the, unicorn imagery, you're going to get to this little girl right there. And that's my granddaughter. And And they get more support from families, and their morale goes up, and it changes the whole culture in the school. So let me give you the example of parent-teacher home visits. And I can say that this is a program that CREC is offering. So if you want to try this in your school district, get in touch with Betsy or Dr. V. And there is some excellent research on this program. And it changes teachers' mindsets. It moves them away from assumptions that are negative about families, like they don't value education, or these parents, they don't care about their kids. There aren't any parents who don't care about their kids. Just forget about that. Every parent cares. It may be that there are all kinds of barriers to their having time with their kids, or there are other struggles going on in the family, but we have to start from the assumption that every family cares. Where would we go if we went with the other way? It just wouldn't take us anywhere we wanted to go. And it's not true. So attitudes were, many of the teachers said, the way I looked at my kids and my families, it was just unfounded. These kids aren't not motivated, they haven't been engaged well in school, and they've turned off because they feel like they're failures or whatever it is. And so you're learning what it is that's going to reach a kid. And then it changes the teacher's practice. So they're able to infuse more of their children's cultures and backgrounds into their lessons and what they're teaching and the books they select and the lessons that they put together. And they're using this information they've gotten from home to really engage their students. So when we say that teachers benefit from home visits, it's a powerful transformational kind of benefit that changes the way they think, the way they act, the way they feel. And so this is the kind of thing that teachers say, I'll never see families the same way again. Once I got into the homes, these homes I thought that would just be, filthy, rat-infested hellholes that, nobody should ever have to go into, not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing families who love and care about their kids, and I'm seeing people that I just admire and respect. It totally changes things. Not that families aren't living in extremely difficult conditions, many of them, but still, every family has strengths. Every family has assets that we can tap and help them, that we can recognize and appreciate them for. And so this creates ripple effects for families. And those of us who care about families are going to be very heartened by this, right? That, we of course are worried about our teachers, but our families need strengths and supports too. And engaging families strengthens families. It builds their confidence. It gives them an opportunity to have better rapport with teachers and school staff. It expands their social networks. It helps them understand better how their child is doing, and above all, how they can help at home. And it gives them more knowledge and skills for advocating for their kid, because the parent is a constant in the child's life. Every year, a child has new teachers, but they have the same family. Whether it's the biological parents or grandparents or whoever is functioning as family in that child's life. And it gives them more supportive social connections. But there are also ripple effects on schools and communities. So when you have a more positive school climate and higher morale, the school can really function as that place that feels like a family, and is a place where families can go and get access to resources, can learn about job training programs, or how to get a GED, or how to get, some other social services they may need. And then the schools have a better reputation, more support from the community, better outcomes that benefits everybody in the whole community. And this is what we call the ripple effect, capturing the ripple effect. So we just look at this. Now, this was about a parent leadership program that's very dear to us and to Connecticut, Parent Leadership Training Institute. How many of you are familiar with that program? Yay. How many of you are graduates of that program? Yay. So you will recognize yourself in this. So when we recognize parents as leaders, as people who have important voices we must listen to, it then has a transformational effect on parents and families that then, leads to more civic activity, and that changes the attitudes of people in positions of public life, public officials, elected officials, people who are community leaders start to see parents in a different way. How many of you PLTI grads have noticed that? That when you start to talk to school board members or the mayor or the superintendent or teachers or people in, positions of authority in the system, they look at you in a different way because you have really good ideas. You have information they need to know. You can be allies and assets. So it totally changes the relationship between the sort of bureaucracy that runs things and the community that's supposed to benefit from what the bureaucracy does. And this creates just a healthier civic climate. Now, do we have in our country right now a healthy civic climate? We do not. We are really polarized and demonizing each other and refusing to talk to each other. And it's because we haven't had the kind of opportunities to get to know and understand each other and to build some shared values and core beliefs. And this all can start to change if our schools open up and work with parents and community members as partners and create the kind of opportunities we're having here right now. So let's share some ideas. How are we doing for time? We're getting a little tight on time. So what is something you learned today that you could take back and start thinking about? What are you doing in your setting to hear from families, really hear from families and listen to their ideas? How could you change or tweak something you're already doing so that it is more designed to break people up into small groups, get them to know each other, hear from each other, and so that you're hearing from them too? What would you like to do next? Let's just take a couple of ideas that you discussed. What was a sort of an aha thing you're going to take back or something you want to do next? Yes. Melissa.
So I want to start Parent Universities because I've done it in a smaller setting. However, after coming here, I'm thinking of having some of our family workshops in more interesting spaces like the university.
Yes. Yes. And interesting things that can be conversation sparkers. Yes.
You have a fabulous library,
Yes.
and I've seen places where they let parents kind of do scavenger hunts for cool books. Let's have a conversation.
Okay, red jacket.
So mine was very similar, just create a space to connect and build relationships.
Spaces, they're very important. Spaces and opportunities. What else? I saw some other hands. Yes.
I really like the spark joy.
Sparking joy. My husband's uncle always used to say, if it's not fun, don't do it. Have fun. That's where the joy comes from. And what about you two with the after school programs? You had an idea.
We've been talking about doing a parent partnership committee
Absolutely. Food, families, fun. That's a good formula.
Definitely food, we definitely involve food.
Definitely food. Okay, it's been wonderful to be here with you. I wish we had more time, but I want you to be sure to have time to tour this fabulous place where we are, because it's just so family friendly, isn't it? Family and kid friendly.
We've used this as a multi-use tool for this. We have our kids come in here and they do sessions in here with groups. We have a couple of the different rooms that you may have noticed as we came in here. The Lego room, love the Lego room. A lot of cool history in there. The coolest thing about that room, we just had Lego here doing a similar event last week. Coolest thing about that room is that's where a kid gets to have their session. A child will come in and they're having their session and they're talking to their clinician. They first walk in. Johnny is just not really excited about what happened. He has to be here. Maybe Johnny is excited. Either way, he gets to go to the Lego room and Johnny's making the Lego. Guess what Johnny's thinking about? The Lego he's building. But guess what Johnny's talking about? All the things that are happening. And it's a way for the clinician to not feel like you're in a room to say, hey, what's wrong, and write it down. It's let the kid express what is happening. And then the clinician is able to have and know what to do to help the child. So maybe Johnny, we find out why Johnny is having problems is maybe at home, or maybe it's at school, or maybe it's something specific. And that is where we're able to use these. So you see the Lego room, but we have a corn pit room. Kids with sensory issues, they can go in the corn room, the corn pit, and they can have their entire session in the corn pit. Normally I take you to each one of those, with of course the signings going on right there. Go around and look at that. But a kid can go in there and they're playing in the corn pit. Again, they're not thinking about what they're saying, but they're able to express what's going on. In the corner over there, we have that one I will take you to, because that one you got to see. So that one, we'll walk over there. Here at FCA, we are trying to grow the good. We talked about that. This is our tree of optimism, right? How we do that is with our superpowers. You'll see all the superpowers up there. Those superpowers are built into a game here. It's a matching game. It helps the kids teach, what is courage. What can you how can you use courage to grow the good? And so these are the type of things. So when you come by and you see this tree, that's the idea of where we are growing the good through our kids, using these tools, these superpowers that everybody has, and can attach to those to help grow this. Right? We had a rock wall climbing room in here. A lot of kids weren't using it, so we went to the kids and said, what do you want? What can we do to help you? And they said, we want a basketball room. Come on in. Because you can't get the experience until you're all the way in here. So when we designed this room, we didn't want it just to be a basketball room. We wanted it to be a disco basketball room. Disco basketball, lights going around. Usually there's a little connector here. We have our scoreboard up here. If you listen quietly, the crowd is cheering for you. Do you hear that? And so Johnny then gets to come in here, and Johnny gets to make a couple free throws, and Johnny's now telling you about Danny, who was his buddy a couple years ago, and Danny moved away, and that made him really sad. And then, you see where I'm going with that? We're still in the process of building it now. It has a full-length basketball court, not as wide, it's a little narrow, but both hoops on both sides. We have a drive-in movie theater with a Volkswagen Beetle in a room with a theater room, and it's made to feel like you're at night, so there's LED lights to go through. We have a pontoon boat that is made to feel like when you get on the pontoon boat, it moves. We have a lot of really neat things that we're building off of what we've done here and just expanding it and moving on. We know this works. We're just trying to get the people to be, hey, we've seen it, now let's contribute. And you guys, knowing this in your environments and people you work with, like, oh, I went to this cool place today. I work here not for FCA. I don't get paid a lot of money. I work for as a nonprofit. I do it because it helps my community. I do it because it helps you, and me and my kids. Because as we were talking out there, it's being able to communicate community into education, into growth, into business, into everything, because it's all about us. So we're gonna go downstairs where the kids get to go to Golden Ticket Night. Also very unique. All a basement a couple of years ago. Like, this was an amazing transformation to see. I came into this organization when they were doing this. So this is Harmony Station. When kids come into Golden Ticket Night, they get to come in and turn in one of their golden tickets and pick something from our Pick and Play or Good Sports room, or our Positive Space, which is our art supplies room. We get these donated in from various donors. But I will tell you that on Golden Ticket Night, every one of these rooms is completely pretty much gone every night, and we have to refill it. The coats and the books we give out for free. We get kids in here right about this time of year. They come in, they say hi to us, and their jackets are this short on them. So we say, please come get a jacket from us. Nice. So they get a nice warm jacket for winter. The books they have. And then another cool thing, come on to Lexi Express. The sound, make you feel like you're on the subway, right. One of the painters used to paint some of the stuff for Quasi. And he's like, hey, I'm a painter. I could do some cool stuff for that. And we're like, yeah, sure. So we let him just do his talent. And if you look up there, it looks like there's another train car. And then MTA actually donated to us some railroad ties. So if you look down and in, you'll actually see some railroad ties as well.
Wow. Really cool.
And if you look down right in there.
Crazy.
And up in Waterbury, the board now is all functional. You can touch buttons, you can flip switches, there's a throttle up there. Again, we've just taken what we know works here and expanded it up there. This room is a gathering room. Like I said, we have so many different programs that need just a space, smaller space than what's up there. We use this gathering space. Our Gabriella, who you met up there, maybe some of you, she runs the ABC program, which is a better choice. It's our substance abuse program for youth and adolescents. They have a meeting in here. And they've got Bluetooth music set up in here. They have a TV if they need to do. They can use the tools that they have here to do what they need to do. And then in here is another really cool room. So this is our Peace Love room. And Family and Children's Aid, like I had mentioned, is all about being able to find ways to get the tools to properly meet kids, right? There's a lot of artists out there. There was not a good program for us that could help us bring our creativity, the creative side of children. Well, Peace Love, we got connected with. They are an organization out of Massachusetts, and the guy who started it was great. And he started this about, I'm going to paint a painting every single day and see what happens. And it turned out to be good art. And one day he sold it, and it sold for enough money that he started Peace Love, which was about being able to use art as therapy. Our Peace Love, this is a Peace Love Studios. It's one of two, actually one of three now maybe. One of them is in Vegas, one of them is here, and one of them is in their home place. So these names here are people about how, what gives you peace of mind, right? And so someone will write their name tag, and 18 would come in there and they'll write down what it gives them peace of mind. Now, some of the things you see on here, all the art things, this is where kids will have their sessions too. Again, someone who's an artist, and you want them, they have dual emotions is one of them up here. Shoes, this is a cool one. So we get a lot of shoes that go donated to us, sometimes high heels. And the girls love coming here. They love designing their own thing. And that's their session, is designing a shoe and drawing on it and putting art to it. But with therapy involved. So it's very unique, very unique. We do group sessions in here as well. This is just another really cool little room that we get to work in. So the treasure chest is more unique than that room in that we have very specific toys that our clinicians can come down and our kids can pick out a toy. Most of the room in there is designed for kids to play and interact with each other, because the point of that is to be games, do sports. The floor is very fun. The same technique that we did in the Peace Love room. It's an epoxy that they put on through them some thing. This was a fun floor to do too. I didn't do it. Barry is our facilities manager. He's the one who built all this stuff. His name's Barry. He's amazing. He's amazing.
How do you get somebody to sponsor all this construction and all of this?
We have a foundation board that helps us raise some money. Some of the people you didn't notice, some of the names up there, Kaufman, I don't know, Bob Kaufman, have you ever heard of him? Bob's Furniture. Okay, his dad was Leo, and he owned a waterbed company before Bob took over and made Bob's Furniture. Bob Kaufman's on our board. We have some very good people that are on our board to help us bring some funding in, so when it comes to special projects like this, we can say, hey, this is our project we want to do. We need X amount of dollars. And either we'll find funding from donations from other organizations. Right now we're raising the money, like I said, for the Waterbury site. So we're accustomed to being able to raise money for specific tasks. This one was just a need that we had enough clinicians to say, we need a place that we can take our kids for their birthday. We're 24 hours, not necessarily here, but we are 24 hours by call. We always have someone on staff. Most of our clients will come in and they will get an intake. Just like you would go get a physical from your doctor, they would come in here and they would intake, where we would try to figure out what of our programs best suits your child, that child. Whether it be one of our ICAPS teams, which are in-home teams, or our clinics work that's done here. That's where we're able to do what we do. We lose about $200 every intake that we do here. But that is our way to be able to get kids in here to give them the services they need. So it is our way to be able to find other ways to make up that $200 in order for us to be able to still provide the services we do. So this clinic is by far the one that is needing the most support because of the program of what it does. The 22 other programs that we have are either grant-based, federally funded, state-funded, et cetera, et cetera. But we work with insurances as well, so it's a plethora. Well, where we get stuff, kids are in our referrals from, like I said, teachers and parents and doctors.